welcome to my WIP Walk of Shame. There's actually less of them than I thought there would be, which is not necessarily saying a lot. Bearing in mind, though, that my grand total of the most knitting and crochet works in progress I've ever had was 27. Bear the number 27 in mind going forward. Hello, I'm Zoe. Welcome back to my channel. Generally speaking, we rummage through the attics of history and see what we can plunder. But for today's video, I am exposing the number of works in progress I have on the internet. This is not a place of judgment. If you have more works in progress than me in this video, this is the lowest I think I've ever had it since I was probably 17. I'm 26. It is what it is. This is just how my brain works. And if you have less works in progress than that, and you think the number of works in progress I have is like, oh my god, I don't know how you do it. Again, not a place of judgment. Today we are going to be doing a little segment that I've decided to title Frog It or Finish It. And you can replace frog it with the F word of your choice. So I have never participated in Finish It February before. I have decided that this year I will, which means I am going through my yarn and wool based works in progress to decide what I'm going to frog and what I'm going to finish. I am not going through my sewing works in progress because I've decided that this year I'm being nice to myself. So, number one. I have been working on this scarf now for, I want to say, at least 2 years, if not longer. I'd never worked with lace weight yarn before. I've discovered about myself that I simply don't like it very much, at least not for this kind of project. You can see that even though I did a little border, it is really badly curling. 1, my design wasn't great. 2, I didn't pick the right wool for this. And 3, I find these teeny tiny little stitches really rather irritating. And once I'd done the bit of the colour work that I was interested in, it's not sparking joy. I am well and truly fed up with it. However, because of how small the needle size and the yarn weight is, I have put so many hundreds of hours into this, and I wish I was joking. I stopped counting after I got past 50 hours because it was starting to become depressing. If I'd have known it was going to take this long, I would never have chosen to do this in a month of Sundays. I couldn't even get to the portion of like the bird being finished before I ran out of this backing wool. But it's going to be an absolute pain in the tuchus to frog because this is all embroidered. I embroidered over this and I duplicate stitched over it when I wasn't happy with the proportions of the piece. I am willing to frog back to an extent. And then I just have this as a sample and I go, okay, I learned. Because this project has taught me so much, but as a finished object, I'm over it. Sometimes when you are learning new techniques, you should really maybe knit a sample instead of deciding you're going to do a scarf. Note for future reference, Zoe. The second contender for Finish It February is another scarf for my mum, which when I realised that that was going to be the 3rd Christmas in a row that that scarf did not get in her Christmas stocking, I decided to myself that I'd knit a different purple scarf. As you can see, I got really far. I've done 2 repeats of this cable pattern. I don't know why, because Christmas is really busy at work, but for some reason I thought to myself, oh, I bet that I'm taking so many extra shifts over the festive period. I bet that I can sit on the front desk and get some knitting done. It was Christmas, what was I thinking? I was getting no knitting done. We were like wall-to-wall customers. So I think that this might be a solid contender for Finish It February. The next project, which is a contender for Finish It February, is this. I started this at Ely Folk Festival last year because I thought that the beret was going to take me the entire festival to make, and I finished the beret I was making. Fun fact, I traded it with the lead singer of the band's Morgan Way, So I ended up doing an art trade, as it were, because I went to just give it to her, because I was like, well, finished it in your set, you can have it if you like. I was just going to give it to someone, I'm literally doing it to keep my hands busy. And she said that I wasn't allowed to give it to her, she had to trade it for something, but we'd already bought a CD, so she gave me a t-shirt. So that was kind of cool, that was my first ever art trade. Because I'd finished that project, I just started this one. I had a little go at some different kinds of granny squares, so some of them are more successful than others. I can kind of see that this might be a project that I would prefer to work on at festivals, so it might get finished later in the year and it might not be a finish it February contender, we will see. Next project. Now, I don't really think of this as an ongoing project in the same way that I would maybe think of other projects as ongoing. This is an ongoing project that I've been working on for genuinely more years than I care to recall. So I've been very slowly working on this for several years, but it's not an every single yarn scrap kind of a project. I have very strict colour parameters, as you can see. So not all of my scrap yarn is suitable. So every now and then I'll have a phase of I will go through and use up all of the appropriately coloured scrap yarn in my stash, and then once I've exhausted those supplies I will simply move on to another project. But I've been collecting them and we have, I think, probably about enough now to have another crack at this. But this is not a project that I can or will be able to finish in February, so not everything here is because I necessarily think I'm going to finish it in February. One project that is a contender for finish it February are these. These are actually left over from a blanket I made one of my nieces. I, for some reason, lost some squares. And when I was making it, I thought, oh my god, I swear I'd had enough of these to finish this blanket. And so I was like desperately making more squares. About a year after she was born, I moved something and I found that these had fallen down the back of a chair. But it means that I have 1, 2, 3, 6 of these and one of these. And they're not really enough to do anything with. So I have some of the right wool, I think, yeah, so I could make this work. Because I was just thinking that if I did another 2 or 3 rounds, that this would make a really nice cot blanket. Then these are other things where I finished the 2 crochet blankets and these 2 squares were either the wrong gauge or the wrong colourway, and they didn't make the cut into the last 2 finished blankets. So I have this square, really fun, experimental, I enjoyed doing it, and then this one, the colours work really well in this square, but in the rest of the blanket they just didn't work out. So I have these 2 random squares that I do not know what to do with. I have considered making them into pillows, but I don't know anyone who would like them. They're not really the kind of thing that any of my close family or friends would enjoy. I started this when I was a teenager. I originally intended to make a rug for my teenage bedroom, and I got this far. Actually, I got even less far than this. I had a phase last year where for some reason I decided I might finish it. And then when I made it this big, I thought to myself, I actually really do not like this as a project anymore. I'm not going to frog it, but I don't know what to do with it. It's one of those kind of things that's just sort of sitting around. So, editing Zoe here, I have decided I am giving it to the cat. Loaf now has a blanket. Looks like Cuthbert! Oh no! This video is descending into anarchy. Even Cuthbert's jumped ship. Retrieve Cuthbert. He doesn't normally live here, but I decided that it would be amusing to have him in the back of this video because I was talking about wool. The other knitting project I have on... I said the other? Do I have any other knitting projects? For the first time in my life, I only have 3 knitting projects on the go. Who am I? in my defence, when I had 27 knitting projects on the go, I had my normal number of knitting projects on the go, and I had 4 nieces that were born that year. So this is the current work in progress I have, that I'm actively working on, are these little boots. If you have a baby that will not keep things on its feet, this pattern is for you. It is in the Women's Weekly edition of Knitting and Crochet for Children and Babies, published in 2016. If you saw last week's WIP Wednesday roundup on shorts, you will have seen that I made a hat and a cardigan for my mum's co-worker out of this wool, and I still have a lot of it left. So I decided I was going to make a little pair of booties, and I also made, it's my regular hat pattern that I've been using since my grandma taught me how to make hats, and I saw somebody do a jumper with a repeating pattern of these little sheep. It wasn't this pattern exactly, it didn't come with a chart, so I just went on the Stitch Chart app on my phone and I made myself a little sheep chart. So this is 100% of a self-drafted pattern, according to the Grandma Arnold technique. She didn't like to knit in the round, so she taught me how to knit hats in the flat. In the flat? On 2 needles? I don't know. We called it knitting hats in the flat. It's not a correct term, I'm aware. So yes, that is all of the knitting works in progress. I have the horrible lace weight scarf, the nice purple cable scarf, and these shoes. I lied! There is another project! Now, in my defence, I'm the 3rd person who's tried to finish this jumper. I'm the only one who successfully finished it. This was started by a neighbour of my gran's. She couldn't finish it, so she gave it to my gran. My gran got so far and got bored. She got stuck on Sleeve Island. A case of the sleevels, if you will. I finished the jumper, but it was originally knitted for a much larger and older gentleman, and being the size I am, didn't fit me. So I just started wearing it, and I wore it for about 6 months. I got the sleeve caught in my wheelchair breaks, because the sleeves were like miles and miles too long for me. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'll, this is the kick up the butt I needed to actually make this jumper fit me. Only it is unbelievably boring because I'm not knitting this nice cool lacework bit. I'm just knitting boring, flat, plain stockinette nearly the whole way. As you can see, in a vain attempt to make it more interesting, I don't know if you can see, I did do a knit and purl design in stockinette and garter stitch to make this less mind-numbingly boring. And it looks really short, but I'm a very short person, and as a wheelchair user I don't like things to be all that long. I got further than I thought. For some reason I thought I hadn't even finished the torso. So the only bit of the knitting that was in any way enjoyable is this cool section here. I think what I'm going to do, inspired by one of my favourite YouTubers, Christine Vicker, so I think this is a contender for frogging it back, and in her videos Christine Vicker wears these like amazing little sort of cowl scarves. They look like the top of a raglan jumper without the body or the sleeves, and I was looking at them and I thought, oh, what a marvellous idea. So I have decided that that is what I'm going to do with this. I am going to frog back the body, which feels so wrong after the amount of time it's taken me, but I'm going to frog it back, and then I'm going to make this into something that, fingers crossed, I will actually wear. I thought I had a lot more ongoing, but it looks like I've finished a lot of things. And the final crochet project that I have is this. It was going to be a vest for myself. The colours aren't flattering. I frogged it back before the increases, and it's now becoming a baby blanket. I'm probably going to crochet a border so it's just that little bit wider, because I like the baby blankets that I make to be able to really like snug in round a baby, especially in a pushchair, to get them nice and cozy, or to really wrap them up. And then I have a spinning project, which I would like to finish. I have spun this is 26 grams. and I'm now spinning the rest of this wool. I believe I bought 50 grams of this fibre, if I remember off my top of my head, so I'll be able to get another 25 gram ball of wool. So I am still spinning this. It is a project I'm actively working on. I'm doing at least 10 minutes a day of this to try and get it done. So this is the only other ongoing project, and I plan on making myself a scarf. And what I'm going to do is, I've got this which is self-plied. This I'm going to self-ply, but I'm also going to thread beads on, I think, a very pale cotton thread. And then I'm going to knit with 2 strands alternately, or perhaps 2 rows and then 1 beaded row and then another 2 rows, depending what I decide looks best. It looks like this before it's spun. It's incredible, and it's got these sparkly filaments in it. Now, generally speaking, as part of my practice of spinning, if I'm not using 100% wool, it is normally because it's combed bits of my fibre scraps. But the little part of my brain that is crow-like and like sparkly things saw this and could not resist it. It's important to me to use as much like British wool as possible. But Purple Sparkles one, there are like 2 parts of me when it comes to yarn craft. The part that cannot resist texture, softness, sparkle, all of the delicious squishy goodness that you can get with synthetic fibres, and the part of me which knows that they will never biodegrade and stresses about my carbon footprint. And I try to have as much balance as possible. I, generally speaking, buy my synthetic yarn secondhand. Actually, generally speaking, I buy all of my wool secondhand. It's not very often that I buy new wool. So, yes, this is something I would like to finish in February. I don't have a lot left to spin. I'm more than 50% of the way there already. I'm probably at the 75% mark, not including the time it's going to take me to ply this particular batch. So I'm thrilled with how this is turning out. Like, my spin has been incredibly consistent. I've learnt a lot. I thoroughly, if you're a hand spinner, recommend. I can't think what place I got it from off the top of my head, but I will endeavour to include it off screen during editing. And yes, I like this very much. I would like to finish it. But I think, realistically, the only bit in February I will be able to finish is the spinning. I do not think I will also be able to finish knitting it. So, that being said, the contenders for Finish It February go thusly in order of priority. This bloody thing. I'm fed up with it. I'm frogging it back. I am casting off, and I am turning it into a scarf. A nice, towely looking scarf. That seems grand to me. I'm quite happy with that. That is what I shall be doing. I'll be casting off the Scarf of Doom, as I've affectionately started calling it, and I would like to finish the purple scarf. A stretch goal is to finish spinning my purple hand spun and to finish plying it with some beads. I will probably also manage to finish the baby boots in February because I am actively working on that project right now, and they take 3 hours to knit each boot. It's about 6 hours per repair. They go really quickly. So those are not really what I'm considering contenders of Finish It February because I only cast them on yesterday. If that's not enough projects, then I guess I have this as well. So I am going to see you in another video. And I'm going to sit and watch Time Team and frog back a jumper. That's my plan for today. And with that, I will see you for Finish It February. I am hoping to do a weekly vlog style for the whole of Finish It February. So consider this the prequel to Finish It February. This is my WIP walk of shame for the start of 2025. And I will see you in another video. Bye! Oh, I'm supposed to tell you to like, comment and subscribe, aren't I? Do that! Or don't. I'm not your mother. I can't tell you what to do. Bye!